What's the one test we order for almost every one of our clients? My name is Bella and I'm a functional nutritionist and founder of the Functional Gut Health Clinic, where we help clients overcome GI symptoms and take back control of their gut health. Test, don't guess is one of our favorite sayings in the land of functional health. And if you've tried a lot of the foundational strategies like improving your diet, getting regular exercise, prioritizing sleep, and reducing stress without any noticeable improvement in symptoms, then it's a sign that you need to consider digging deeper with functional lab testing. Or maybe you've been given an IBS label and some laxatives or anti-diarrheal meds, which are band-aid symptom support tools that haven't actually addressed why you keep getting bloated, have constipation or diarrhea, or other symptoms like fatigue, skin, and weight changes. As science lovers, we believe in cause and effect. And with recent advances in gut health research, we now know that we can test for and identify many of the root causes for IBS symptoms that previously went undetected. We're going to walk through why you need to test, not guess, when it comes to IBS, the 5 most helpful functional lab tests to identify IBS root causes, and the one test that we order for almost every one of our clients. So why is testing so important for IBS? Before we get into the different tests, let's talk about why the IBS label has existed for so long. I tend to think it's because of 3 main reasons. So first, our scientific understanding of the gut was extremely limited until the last 20 or so years. The importance of the gut microbiome and how it impacts the health of our entire body was not well understood. Second, we didn't have reliable or affordable testing options to get an accurate look into the health of our gut. Now we can get hundreds of markers from a single stool test that uses DNA technology and a really clear picture of what's going on for our clients. And third, IBS was previously thought of as one thing, not a whole host of root cause imbalances that all need to be addressed in their own way. This new understanding has changed everything and why we're having so much success with helping our clients get rid of IBS symptoms. Okay, so test, don't guess, we get it. But what specific tests do our clients commonly do to help identify the root cause imbalances of their IBS symptoms? If you're experiencing IBS symptoms like bloating, constipation, diarrhea, reflux, or abdominal pain, for example, and if diet changes and probiotics haven't fully resolved your symptoms, the most common root cause, which we discussed in our previous video, is a gut infection. And the way we test for this is with a stool test. Yes, that means collecting a sample of your own poop in a container and sending it off to the lab to analyze. These days, we use DNA technology that can pick up the tiny fragments of genetic material from microbes, which means that we can very reliably look at organisms that may be contributing to client symptoms, as well as indicators of digestion, absorption, inflammation, and immune function. A comprehensive stool test like a GI map is an absolute goldmine of information about our gut and has made it possible to identify IBS root causes more accurately and reliably. Stool testing is my absolute favorite to interpret. You're looking for trends in microbes and the presence or overgrowth of specific ones that are correlated with symptoms, as well as checking ranges of intestinal health markers. Here's what an example GI map test result looks like. The first page of the GI map looks for all of the microbes that your doctor may screen you for if you ask them for a more basic stool test. It covers bacterial, parasitic, and viral pathogens that are known to cause gastro or food poisoning symptoms. You can see there are nasty bacterial pathogens here like E. coli and Salmonella, as well as parasites like Crypto and Giardia, and even common viruses like norovirus. Page 2 starts with a whole section on H. pylori and whether any virulence factors are present. Positive H. pylori virulence factors represent the genetic potential for an H. pylori strain to cause more nasty issues like ulcers, inflammation, or cancer. We like to correlate a client's symptoms with the presence of H. pylori and take any virulence factors into consideration when working out how to approach this with our clients. At the bottom of page 2, we have commensal or beneficial microbes like Bifidobacteria, Lactobacillus, Faecalibacterium, and Akkermansia species. This section is so important because it lets us know how your gut microbiome is going overall. Are there enough good gut bugs to support your body with proper digestive function? And then on page 3, we get into the opportunistic or overgrowth microbes. Microbes that might not be so bad unless they're found in high numbers and correlate with symptoms. You've probably heard of Pseudomonas, Staph, Strep, Methanobacteriaceae, Klebsiella, and Citrobacter in your gut health research. Just FYI, I've had overgrowths of them all, and it's not uncommon for us to see a lot of red in this section. At the bottom of page 3, we have yeasts, which don't always show up on stool testing. We often like to use a client's symptom profile and other labs to confirm yeast overgrowth in the body, like an organic acids test. Page 4 is fun. It covers parasites that can be correlated with IBS symptoms. We see a lot of blasto and defrag, and in good news for our clients, we very rarely see worms. The bottom of page 4 covers your intestinal health markers like elastase, which gives us clues about pancreatic enzyme production or how well you're breaking down your foods. And beta-glucuronidase, a very cool marker which can give us information about our intestinal microbes and how they are working to support the liver with detoxification, for example. We have calprotectin there to give us clues about inflammation, and zonulin to give us clues for one of our other common IBS root causes we spoke about in our last video, being leaky gut. And just a disclaimer, no test is perfect, and stool testing provides clues, not all the answers. Like I said, a comprehensive stool test using DNA technology like the GI map really is a goldmine of information about the state of our gut health. And as long as we do the right test prep and test at the right times, we almost always find imbalances that can explain at least part of why our clients are feeling the way they are. If bloating, gas, abdominal pain, or irregular bowel movements are a part of your daily life, especially if they improve temporarily with antibiotics or worsen with high-fiber foods, the root cause might be SIBO, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. This is the second most common root cause of IBS we've previously discussed, and one that researchers think could be responsible for up to 80% of diagnosed IBS cases. And the way we test for this is with a SIBO breath test. So what we're trying to identify is whether you have a higher than expected amount of bacteria or archaea in your small intestine. And the way we do this is to drink a sugar solution, let the microbes ferment the sugar, which creates a gas, and then we measure that gas in the breath over a 3-hour period. The amount of gas and at what times during that 3 hours it elevates gives us a lot of information about what is happening in your small intestine. And as helpful as it is, SIBO testing is probably our least favorite because of the amount of prep it needs. You need to follow a restricted prep diet for 1 to 2 days prior to testing, as well as a list of other specific requirements to ensure that the results are accurate. On the day of testing, you complete a baseline breath sample, then you drink the sugar solution of either lactulose, fructose, or glucose, and take breath samples every 15 to 20 minutes for around 3 hours. Once the lab has analysed your breath samples, we get a report that looks like this. It's basically a graph up the top showing gas elevations over a 3-hour testing period. Most labs show hydrogen and methane gas, and at present there is one lab which includes hydrogen sulfide gas too. This is not that lab, so I just have a standard hydrogen methane SIBO report here. The grey line is hydrogen gas, the black line represents methane gas, and the blue line is both gases combined. High levels of hydrogen and or methane gas within the first 90 to 100 minutes of this test indicate the presence of SIBO. For any of our clients who are listening, we actually allow up to 120 minutes for very constipated clients who have exceptionally slow transit time. Hydrogen-dominant SIBO often leads to diarrhea, while methane-dominant SIBO is more commonly associated with constipation. There can be a lot of overlap here, and both are associated with bloating and gas after eating. Under the graph is a table that shows the same information from the graph, but presented in a different way, with an interpretation section right down the bottom. As you can see, this client is positive for hydrogen and methane SIBO. There's an ongoing debate about the best sugar solution to use. We've completed thousands of SIBO tests using all 3 of the sugar solutions, and there are benefits to each type. As a general rule though, we prefer to use lactulose or fructose, or a combination if this is possible. And finally, the current guidelines we use for what is considered a positive SIBO test are a rise in hydrogen gas of 20 parts per million in the first 90 to 100 minutes, and a rise in methane gas of about 10 parts per million in the first 90 to 100 minutes. So if bloating after meals is a part of your symptom profile, I would consider SIBO breath testing as a part of your lab testing investigation work. If, in addition to IBS symptoms, you're also experiencing symptoms like fatigue, mood changes, unexplained weight shifts, or your digestive issues coincide with hormonal fluctuations, it's time to check in on your hormones. And the most comprehensive hormone panel we have is a Dutch hormone test. Dutch testing is a bit of a science if you're a cycling female because you need to test during the luteal phase of your cycle. For everyone else, you can test at any time during the month. You just need to collect 4 or 5 dried urine samples over a 24-hour period. Once your results have been analysed by the lab, we get a really detailed report that looks like this. Interpretation of a Dutch test is a specialty and something that requires a lot of training and experience to really understand the correlations between hormone levels, metabolites, and symptoms. On page 1, you can see a summary of your body's hormonal landscape, including your sex hormones estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone, as well as your adrenal hormones, DHEA total, and the 2 cortisol markers. Cortisol, for example, can affect the gut microbes by altering gut transit time, increasing leaky gut, and reducing nutrient availability, which can in turn impact the composition and diversity of the gut microbiome, leading to GI symptoms. So next time you're feeling stressed and like cortisol levels are running high, remember stress can directly impact the gut and cause IBS symptoms. The next few pages add a ton of information about your sex hormones and how your body is metabolizing them. We can get information which gives us clues about liver function, like how well your body is sulfating DHEA, and we can get clues about GI inflammation in the gut from phase 1 estrogen metabolism. We can look at the percentage of estrogen flowing down the 16-OH pathway. 16-OH elevations can correlate with gut dysfunction and inflammation. I mean, how cool is Dutch testing, right? Finally, the last page of the Dutch report covers a few nutritional organic acid markers, which are also on the organic acids test, which we'll talk about next. We can get clues about B vitamin and glutathione needs, as well as information about oxidative stress, which can damage cells and contribute to aging. We also run this test because clients with IBS symptoms often don't just have IBS symptoms. They also commonly struggle with fatigue, unexplained weight changes, and mood changes that we also want to address for them. And so while Dutch testing can give us some clues about IBS symptoms, its focus is really on those other symptoms that we so often see in our clients. When we don't see the symptom improvement we would expect after addressing imbalances identified on the GI map and SIBO breath test, we turn to a test that looks at metabolic byproducts in our urine to assess things like mole colonization, yeast and bacteria, mitochondrial function, neurotransmitters, detoxification, and nutritional status. We call this the organic acids test. It is particularly relevant if, along with IBS symptoms, you're also dealing with symptoms outside of the gut, like fatigue, mood changes, and brain fog. The OAT test is a first morning urine sample. You need to collect at least 10 ml of urine after waking and before eating or drinking. There's also a list of foods that need to be avoided for 48 hours prior to testing, so some of the markers aren't impacted. Once the lab has analysed the results, here's a snapshot of the report we get to interpret. So this sample report is particularly messy. We're looking for elevated levels of acids, so numbers that are showing with a red outline. The first page of the OAT report is the most important. It shows intestinal microbial overgrowth and breaks it down into yeast and fungal markers, which can also give us clues about mold colonization from Aspergillus and Fusarium, as well as general bacterial markers and Clostridia bacterial markers. This page can be super helpful when we're wanting more information about bacteria and yeast on top of what we get from the GI map and SIBO breath tests. Page 3 has some more important markers which we can correlate with pain symptoms for our clients. So oxalate metabolites are helpful to know about for clients who have mold or yeast, which produce oxalates themselves, or for clients who might have genetic reasons for pain symptoms. My third favorite section in this report is on page number 5, indicators of detoxification. Many of our clients will show elevations in this section, which gives us clues about how to support them with detoxification. We run this lab for clients who aren't making progress with symptoms the way we would expect, to check for other root causes that may have been missed with stool and SIBO breath testing. Our number one blocking factor to addressing the most common IBS root causes is mold and mycotoxins, which are actually IBS root causes themselves, but that is a topic for another video. Mold and the toxic compounds that are naturally produced by certain types of molds, called mycotoxins, are responsible for a whole range of symptoms across many areas of the body, like chronic fatigue, sinus issues, brain fog, pain, light sensitivity, and other brain symptoms like headaches and mood changes. We often screen clients using questionnaires and a visual contrast sensitivity test called a VCS test before reaching for a mycotoxin lab. Mold and mycotoxin exposure are now something we screen clients for when they first start working with us, because we can get mold colonization and mycotoxin exposure from water-damaged buildings, which are everywhere at the moment. Now, if you're sensitive to molds and mycotoxins, you can feel more symptomatic when you live or work in a water-damaged building. But many of our clients had exposure years ago, and their body still hasn't dealt with it because their ability to detoxify mycotoxins isn't there. So if our clients have the right symptom profile and maybe even failed the VCS test, we'll reach for a mycotox profile. There are many versions of this lab, and the one I'm showing you isn't the lab we always use because it doesn't test for the most amount of mycotoxins. It just has the easiest report to read. We like all clients to complete 2 to 4 weeks of testing prep before completing mycotoxin testing to ensure that we get the most out of this first morning urine sample test. We also ask clients to mobilize mycotoxins by using the sauna to sweat the day before they test. The actual test is a simple urine test that assesses a client's mold exposure by assessing mycotoxin levels, which are metabolites produced by mold or fungi. Most labs screen for 11 or more different mycotoxins from 40 species of mold in one urine sample. Here's a look at the results we get back from the lab. Specific mycotoxins like ochratoxin, gliotoxin, and mycophenolic acid are showing as elevated in this lab. These toxic compounds produced by mold can severely impact your health, including your digestive system, by triggering inflammation and immune reactions and exacerbating GI symptoms. If you've been working on your gut health for years and have had extensive exposure to a water-damaged building, then mold and mycotoxins might be the missing piece of the puzzle for you. While the advanced functional labs we've discussed offer incredible insights into your gut health, it's important to remember that they are not perfect and should be used alongside a thorough health history and a healthy dose of clinical correlation and reasoning. A lot of the time, you really need to think about the whole person and not get bogged down in the weeds of specific markers. So where do we start? What's the one test we order for almost every one of our clients? Because testing can be expensive, it's not always necessary to do all of the labs at once. We actually find that too much information at the beginning can be overwhelming. In our clinic, the one test we order for almost every one of our clients is a stool test. And where indicated, a SIBO breath test comes in as a close second. These foundational labs, as well as a thorough health history, provide a really comprehensive overview of your gut health and offer a great starting point for identifying and addressing the imbalances that lead to IBS symptoms. As we work through the results and start implementing targeted recommendations, we monitor our clients' progress and feedback. This allows us to identify if and when additional labs might be helpful, especially if we come up against obstacles to healing. It's a step-by-step process tailored to your unique health journey. Finally, as gut health begins to improve, many clients find themselves motivated to address other aspects of their health. Maybe their hormones or their energy levels aren't quite right. The realization that symptoms have root causes that can be tested for, identified, and addressed is incredibly empowering. It plants the seed that you can take control of healing given time and consistency. So we start with the stool and SIBO breath tests, and then we go from there, gradually expanding our investigation based on the client's response to progress. This approach not only ensures a manageable process for our clients, but also maximizes the effectiveness of the recommendations that we make. So if you're looking to move past an IBS label and actually identify the root causes of your symptoms, functional health testing like the ones we've discussed might be the right next step. I'll leave you a link in the description where you can learn more about working with our team of functional nutritionists who specialize in root cause testing and natural protocols for IBS, because identifying root causes may be the first step on your journey to feeling healthy, vibrant, and well.